Ash Creek, January 16th, 2023. We have minutes of the January 3rd regular meeting. Could I have a motion to adopt as circulated?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? Yeah.
Just that the TNRD meetings are actually the 18th, 19th, and 20th, not the 16th. That's in the minutes. That's
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay, thank you.
just for information.
Thank you.
I would make a recommendation to council that, there was one very, very long motion, and it definitely wasn't, I feel that, it was what the intent of council was, but it wasn't kind of how the conversation went. It's kind of weird to explain, but basically, I would recommend that, council would do the motion again, just to be safe. The one for the Avion trailer.
It was amended twice.
It was amended twice, and the wording and the quotes when I was going through the recording, what you see here is the actual correct motion, and even when I was recording it that night and I read it back to council to say, do you want to know what you're actually voting on, what I was saying wasn't actually what it was. And so just to make sure that it's clear that that is what council does intend to do, I would recommend that council maybe pull that forward and vote on the same thing again.
So would that be a, reject the motion, like vote and reject it, or would
You
that
could
be
just do it again, either new business or business arising from the minutes. Just make the motion again.
Well, we might as well do it in business arising if that's where you're bringing it up under.
That makes sense to me.
And what page is it on?
It is specifically on page, yeah, I think it's page 5, yeah, of the attachments.
The
It's very
council
long.
allow the Avion trailer to remain on pad number 8, subject to being located entirely within the confines of the trailer park and that not be connected to utilities without previously being approved by council, so long as the trailer only be used as an office, and that Ms. Gravel must bring this issue back to council within 6 months' time for council to confirm that what the status is, her long-term plan, a map of the current layout of the park, and what are the current regulations for density of manufactured home parks. And what are you thinking we need to change about that?
No, I think it's great. It's just, if someone was being nitpicky, it's not exactly as things were worded when we were talking about things at the previous meeting. So I would just recommend that it be moved again and adopted again, just so that there's clarity, that being 100% certain that that is what council wants. It's kind of an unorthodox situation.
It was carried unanimously as I read it, and so I don't understand the purpose of voting on it again.
Okay, I just have a suggestion.
Councillor Ranta.
Why don't, rather than rescinding it and moving it again, I would just ask the council if they have any objections as it stands. Was that what they understood they were voting on? And I don't have any objection to this.
Everybody's good with it the way it is, bro.
So would you like
Perfect.
a motion to confirm that? Is that?
Even if that's confirmation enough for me. I just don't want, because it was very muddy when I was listening to the recording. And I do believe that that's what council wanted. It's just I wanted to make 100% sure.
Yeah.
So if you guys are good, I'm good.
Seems as if that's what they wanted. Thank you.
Perfect.
Any other business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, committee reports, economic development, Councillor Deaver.
Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Budget and Administrative Services, the 2023 meeting schedule. It was noticed that the September 18th council meeting conflicted with the UBCM dates. And I would ask for a motion to move the September 18th meeting to September 25th.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Bylaw and policy review, Councillor Ranta.
The committee had a meeting, last Monday, and we have I'm very sorry that there is, no report from that meeting, but it will go on the next agenda. However, we do have a motion here, and I will move the motion that council remove policy E-6, use of aquatic center diving boards.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll start this.
Councillor Ranta.
The reason for the removal of the policy is that the policy is, in my opinion and our opinion, not required because number one, it's operational. Number two, procedures for a safe diving board use are in the staff training manual for the Cache Big Pool, and that we felt that the aquatic center diving boards policy was not required.
Thank you. So the motion is to rescind or remove the aquatic center diving board policy. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. On to Public Works, Councillor Diebert.
Nothing to report at this time.
There's a couple of things on the agenda, partner, that's
Sorry.
no problem.
The dark one.
Recommendation that council receive and file the fieldwork update from Western Water Associated Limited.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
And number 2 item, recommendation that council refer the subject to a committee for further investigation.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Healthcare and Protective Services, Councillor Ranta.
Thanks.
We had a meeting last Monday, and just note, there's no meeting scheduled at this time. However, there may be one, in February after all, just, based on the meeting that I attended today, which I will report on at the next, council meeting. So we are recommending that council invite the RCMP to attend as a delegation to a future council meeting.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. On to Emergency Management, Councillor Peters.
Nothing to report this time.
Parks and Recreation, Councillor Ranta.
And we did have a meeting last Monday. We'll have a report on the next agenda, and so we brought forward the topic of shrine property update to this meeting, and we're just asking CAO Pritchard to provide an update on the current status of the property. The reason is because there's been quite a lot of different communications about this, before the election, a little bit after the election, and we just thought some kind of a clarity could be brought forward to council for the status of the property.
So pertaining to that, basically the status of the situation with the shrine, as people know, it's owned by BC Housing, and so it's kind of in their court right now. We conducted on-site kind of walkthroughs with members of the public. We had just over 100 people attend throughout the 3 different sessions. We compiled all the different information that we received from people as to if the village of Cache Creek was involved in the property, what we would like to see there, or even if we weren't involved with the property, what we would like to see there. We compiled that, put that in an expression of interest, and we also submitted our expression of interest with Bonaparte Indian Band because they were there talking with us about different things as well. Whether or not that pans out into anything, it's still unknown at this point. There's been changes provincially. The person that was in charge of housing previously is now the premier. So there's been a bit of a reshuffling there. So they've had a change in leadership. There's been an election here locally since all that stuff happened. So we're just kind of getting the ball rolling again with having conversations and seeing what their plans are to utilize the site for something.
Thank you. Any questions for Administrator Couture? Seeing none. Councillor Ranta?
I don't really have a question, but part of the reason we brought it forward to council was to just ensure that the public understood that this council hasn't made any concrete decisions about the Shrine property, that it's kind of pending information from the government. There is a little bit of connection with seniors housing. The village wouldn't initiate seniors housing on the site was one thing that I was told at the meeting, that it wasn't a village thing to initiate or manage a seniors residence on the site, and just wanted to make sure that that was also mentioned.
Thank you. On to Landfill Advisory Committee, nothing to report there. TNRD and Intergovernmental Liaison, there's 3 meetings coming up this week. Cache Creek Community Fund, Councillor Ranta.
We have not had a meeting, so I do know that we do need to have a look at the Cache Creek Community Fund policy, because there's a little bit of tweaking that's needed there. It's kind of actually, to be quite honest, in the court of the policy committee, once some of the other big ones we're working on are cleared off.
Thank you. Staff reports. Administrator Couture. Or the critical infrastructure project, there's information on pages 15 to 17 of the agenda, and the recommendation is that we approve an expenditure of up to $75,000 to remedy the leak in well 7 to be paid from gas tax funds. You've got a 3-pager on your desk that was left, and it talks about the background and the options available. Drill a new well for $500,000, or ignore this and let it get worse, or whatever else. The recommendation is to approve an expenditure up to $75,000 to remedy the leak, and I would so move.
Second.
Any discussion, Councillor Peters?
It's just, I would like to ask if we can amend it to include and further direct staff to continue to look for available funding to replace well 7 at some point in the future.
I'll second.
On the amendment, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. On the motion as amended? Any discussion?
I was voting already.
Oh, all those in favor?
Oh,
Oh,
Christina.
Can I say a word?
Yeah, absolutely.
But on Friday,
Go ahead, Christina.
on Friday, when we received the report from True Consulting, we also learned that there is a major leak in the Campbell Hill well,
Yeah.
and that cost would be about a similar amount, and we didn't know about that, but that probably should come at a later time in the council, but it's going to have the same price tag as well number 7 rehabilitation. And considering that, you know, the fire season is just around the corner, I don't think we as a village can afford to be out of any well. And so maybe the council will consider also, taking into consideration, the well for Campbell Hill Reservoir.
Thank you. So the administrator will put that on a future agenda, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I can put it on a future agenda.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Martini. ESS grant funding, there's a recommendation to support the application to UBCM Community Emergency Preparedness Fund and commitment that we will provide administrative support for grant activities.
We didn't actually, because we went back to discussion, we didn't complete the vote on the last recommendation.
Oh, we're still at the amendment?
We passed the amendment on the motion as amended.
Yeah, you're on the motion that's amended.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. On to ESS grant funding. There's a recommendation.
I move the council supports the application to the UBCM Community Emergency Preparedness Fund and will provide administrative support for the grant activities and will provide overall grant management.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Information correspondence, there are 4 items. Could I have a motion to receive and file the items in information correspondence?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councillor Ranta?
Just referring to item B, inferior health decriminalization of illegal substances, so that's a kind of a timely thing. I would like a discussion of that to go on the health committee, for the future meeting, just as an update and get a little more information on the impacts of that in our local context.
No problem. Can you arrange for that?
I can add it to the agenda, yeah.
Thank you. On the motion to receive and file, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. New business, anybody have any new business? Councillor
Just-
Peters?
Just to let everybody know that this weekend is the Guns and Hoses charity hockey game between the RCMP and the Ashcroft Volunteer Fire Department. It's a fun night with lots of hijinks. There'll be a raffle, a puck toss, and a 30-70 draw because we want to raise as much money as we can. And the proceeds this year will go to Honor Ranch. The doors open at 5:30. Puck drop is 6 o'clock, and it should end between 9 and 9:30, 10 o'clock, somewhere in that area. Be a fun night, and I encourage everybody to attend.
Thank you. Any other new business? Administrator Kutcher.
Just one item to bring forward, became aware of it today. There is a potential grant for Family Day for $1,500 to host some sort of an event. It's pretty close, but apparently approvals for it are pretty quick. So just wondering if council has an appetite to do something to that. It doesn't cover any wages or anything like that. So if we had staff members working on the long weekend or the weekend or the Monday of the long weekend, there's a cost to that we would be out of pocket for. But if we were to do something, we may be able to. It's just kind of, what would you like to do? And
What's the date of Family Day?
Oh, Family Day.
February 20th.
Yeah.
So that's why I brought it up right away, because it's less 4 days over a month away.
Councillor Ranta?
I would move that the council approve expenditures up to $500 towards an event, and that we apply for the grant that the administrator is referring to.
Is there a seconder?
Will second that.
Any discussion, Councillor Peters?
Just these events are often hosted by community groups or service groups in the area, and February 20th doesn't give us enough time to be, a month is not enough. I'm speaking from Alliance perspective, it wouldn't be enough for us to put something together for that, and so it would be based on staff. Unless somebody would come forward to take it on, but, so there would be overtime costs then involved.
Councillor Ranta?
I believe, like, I'm supporting this idea because at the Park and Recreation Committee, we have been working on the concept of developing again a Cache Creek activities program of some kind. And although it's not really ready to put forward, the idea of having a one-time event, the possibility of it bringing organized, I'm sure the administrator wouldn't have brought it forward to council if he didn't believe that it would be a possibility to actually get something done. And maybe this time it would be just like the village as a standalone, you know, based on availability and of facilities and things like that. Yeah, the CD Saturday is the 4th, so it might work into that and it might not, and if it doesn't, I'm sure we'll get a report back from the administrator. So if, you know, maybe it would be a different type of event, maybe it wouldn't be at the hall. So I think that this is just a beautiful opportunity because it's so difficult to get the activities program in a full way accomplished in time, this time of need, January, February, March, when it's winter time and people that don't do hockey and things like that maybe need events. And I just think we should try, and if it's possible, I'm sure we'll hear back about whether we're gonna be able to do something, but I think we should just give it a little bit of a push.
Yeah, if it's impossible, just let us know. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Any other new business? Any questions from the public? Any questions from the press? Even the hiding press?
Nope.
We apparently have need for a closed session. Could I have a motion to move to closed session pursuant to section 90.1 and 91.2 of the community charter?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Brief break.